Hey guys, it is now January 7th, 2026. Why is this video so late, you ask? Because apparently the editing gods were not working in my favor. I recorded this mid-December 2025, the around the 10th, 11th, and the 14th. Was ready to go edit on the 15th before I left on the 16th, and I tried no less than 3 times and it just did not work. In fact, I couldn't really recoup the whole video. Thankfully, I had all the clips, so I had to re-edit the whole thing. But I did still want to share it because I was very proud of what I showed and I wanted to wrap up 2025. So we're just going to take a little trip back in time so that you may see this video. Enjoy it as the last video of 2025, even though it's the first video of 2026, technically on the uploading side. And I guess, yeah, I will have an actual first video of 2026 soon. Enjoy. Hello guys, how are you? My name is Carolina and welcome to my channel. This is a channel where I mainly talk about cross stitch. If you're new, welcome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check me and my stitching out. And if you're returning, welcome back. Today is Monday, December 15th, 2025, and it's actually going to be my last video for 2025 because I am traveling starting tomorrow. So I wanted to kind of wrap things up, give you one final update, talk a little bit about plans, and yeah, I won't be seeing you again till 2026. So very excited to do that and having the time to do this. I do want to say I did pre-record some clips last week. I decided to wear the same shirt just for continuity purposes, but I do have some stuff I recorded last week and some stuff I'm recording today, just mainly because there were a couple starts that I did over the weekend that I wanted to, well, one technically I didn't know what was going to happen, but I had one start that for sure was going to be on December 14th because that was the start along date because it is a sal piece and I knew I wouldn't have that to show. So I have some progress and stuff I recorded before and some stuff I'm recording today. I do have one knitting finish to share and I am going to leave diamond painting for next year. I know I mentioned last time, if you were interested, apologies that it's not going to be this time. I just don't have enough time to do that. As today I am wrapping up the day. I do have a holiday thing with work that I'm going to be participating in, but most of the day I'm really going to be prepping for our travels. So I just have a little bit of time to record some of the bits of that I hadn't recorded and then hopefully edit this and get this loading overnight so that it can be up. If I get it done earlier, even better. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and start with a finish. I'm going to show you a kind of standalone start and then some standalone progress pieces. And then the other starts kind of go with pieces that I have progress on. They're companion pieces, if you will. So it kind of made sense to talk about them in the same section. So I'm not just going to have starts, progress, finish. I'm going to go ahead and start with the finish, get it out of the way, show the kind of standalone start, standalone progress, and then the ones that work together. I will talk about plans for next year. Not very detailed, like here's the projects I'm going to be working on, but like how I'm going to tackle the projects. And I probably will sit down and plan that first week I'm back in January, and then sometime at the end of the first week to mid-January, I'll kind of do my more like solid, okay, this is what I ended up deciding to do and which projects I'm going to do that with. And my knitting finish, and that'll be it. So let's go ahead and get going. Alright guys, so first up I have my one finish. So this is the parish towel that I showed it the last time. So this is it's not really a towel, it's like a cloth material, but it's like a decorative kitchen sort of situation here. So that's the design on it. And this was a gift from my parents that they got when they went on their Europe trip a while ago, like I mentioned, before COVID and everything. And I had shown this last time that I had, oh, that's what I added. So that was what was missing. I did add the flower jar here. There we are. And that was what I added, but here is the piece as a whole. So we've got the flower jar, girl one, the little cake in the middle, or should I say the large cake in the middle, the second girl, and then on this side is the sugar and vanilla jars. So that is complete. I am super excited about it. This very well may be my only finish rather of 2025. We shall see. I have one project which I'll show in the progress section that
that I might still be able to finish. So I won't be taking it on my my first trip of the holiday season with my side of the family, but with my husband's side of the family, we're going to be camping. So I'm sure I will hopefully have some time to get a little stitching in. Just my hope is that we will cozy up at some spot in the cabin when maybe everybody's sleeping, maybe with some coffee or some hot cocoa, and do some stitching, and maybe I'll finish that. But if not, no biggie. I am totally fine. I've got a ton of progress on different items. Sorry about that. But yeah, so there it is one final time, a little bit straighter, because I know that first bit I didn't show you too well. So yeah. There is that, and I am super happy that it's done. I gotta go ahead and put it up and decorate. I'm trying to work on like maybe the lighting not changing as much when I show things, but we'll see. I'm working on it. I'm trying to either put the camera further away or angle the lamp a little different, but I think it's a little better than last time. So that is, yeah, my finish like I mentioned. Hopefully I'll get to finish the other piece. We shall see. I'll show it to you next. And then if not, it'll be started at the beginning of 2026. No biggie. If I don't get it at the end of 2025. Gotten tons of progress on stuff, seeing as I just started stitching here in August. So very happy with that. But yeah, so that is my finish, and we're gonna go ahead and move on to progress next. All right, so for my kind of standalone start, I have Winter Cookie Party. Picture here of what that's gonna look like when it's finished. This artwork is by Amy Stewart, and it is chartered by Heaven and Earth Designs. And here is my start. Let me see if I'll use this. So super excited with where that got. I got quite a bit of that plate done. And so as you might be able to tell, I did do a center start. So the center is right around here-ish. So I counted over so that I could work on the plate. And I was very happy that the center plopped me right into a bunch of 38-46. That's not gonna focus, I don't think. Maybe if I block my face, which is a gorgeous light but very bright aqua blue. And one of the other colors, which I did not get to, but I had pulled it, is 3844, which is a much brighter version of that color. And I know the lighting's not going to do this justice, but I don't want to mess around with my lights too much because I know how distracting that can be. I need to like figure out the setting that works best and then write it down, because I mentioned this before, but I got a new lamp that has a bunch of different light settings and modes, and I kind of just play around with it with my camera on until it looks decent. But then when I start showing stuff, sometimes I'm like, oh, that wasn't quite the lighting I was going for. And I know it can be distracting to be switching the lights, so I just gotta sit down with it and play with it and like cold floss up and fabric up and be like, okay, this mode at this intensity kind of is the best general mode. But yeah, I'm super pleased. Again, this was super impromptu, so what happened is a bunch of stuff kind of aligned for me to start this piece. Jessie posted her latest Flosstube, Jessie Marie Does Stuff, Thursday or Friday of last week, and I was watching it, and she mentioned that she was starting Winter Cookie Party. She of course is doing the large version. I am not. I am doing the mini, as you probably can tell by how much I got done with just a little over 300 stitches. And she was talking about, you know, how a bunch of stitchers are doing it. She did mention that some people are doing like a cropped version, which kind of sparked an interest. More on that in a minute. But I knew I wouldn't do the large, so I'm like, but I know that somebody mentioned Hade was having a sale. So Jessie mentioned it. Christmas cookies in general, a big tradition on my husband's side of the family. I saw that Hade was having a sale, and I checked and it was 50% off sale. So minis are $6 in that case. And the large version is $7 if you are a printer, if you'd like to print your pieces, but for Pattern Keeper, doesn't really matter. And I think that's mainly because if you print the large version, you use more paper, more ink. But yeah, the PDF, which honestly, I mean, maybe because you have to also, she has to do the chart, work more with the chart, so it's an extra $1, but whatever. I pay the $6 because Pattern Keeper, you can blow it up as big as you want. So $6 can totally do that. And again, just the idea of the piece itself is meaningful. I didn't have Christmas cookies as a tradition in my family or like really in my culture. So I didn't really start doing that until I started dating my husband. So over 20 years ago when we first started dating. I've been going to Christmas cookies. It's always been so much fun. His family's super welcoming and a bunch of weirdos, which is right up my alley, of course, because I'm a weirdo too. So I say that in the most loving way possible. And they just have a wild time, and it's always so fun. And I really enjoy like the artistic fun side of it. So my mother-in-law and I are actually known for getting just like a handful of cookies, but like taking like the whole day to get them decorated, and we're all detailed and we have fun with it. And recently, of course, my daughter has been enjoying it more and more as she's been getting older. So she first started by like just kind of throwing some sprinkles on, and then like mixing icing together, and then putting on icing and covering it in sprinkles. And like really in the last 2 years, but especially this year, she kind of takes her time and designs it out and makes it cute. And my mother-in-law and I think it's so heartwarming because she takes after us and she takes her time with her cookies. Not that there's anything wrong with just putting icing and sprinkles on and, you know, just having fun with it that way, but it's so fun that she enjoys that process of like, okay, let's make a design for this cookie, and what am I going to use? Am I going to use the glitter? Am I going to use the sprinkles? What kind of colors do I need? She mixed a couple colors together to get the color that she wanted, which I really enjoy because I'm also do that. We'll have like 5 to 8 colors of icing depending on how we're feeling, and whoever is making the icing is feeling. And I'm known to like grab a little bit of this, a little bit of that, just make like the lighter red or darker blue or whatever to make exactly what I need. So very big deal for me, Christmas cookies. Also, our cookie day was December 13th this year, so Saturday, which is when Jessie was starting hers. So it just like so many signs lied for me, like I need to start this. So I did go ahead and start it, and I'm super pleased. The only thing is after Jessie posted her start on Instagram, there was some conversation in the comments of people who hadn't realized they were starting it or had and like, oh, I want to join in too, or I started it already, or I'm starting it soon. And somebody mentioned they were cropping it, and I know Stitching Mommy's cropping hers, but I don't know the details exactly of where she's cropping because I haven't caught up with all her videos yet. But somebody in the comments mentioned they think they're going to cut the teapot and the candle out, and I'm like, I can see that. I can see how that would work, because although the teapot has super gorgeous blues, probably some of my favorite DMCs, it also doesn't fit for me necessarily, because I do like tea and I enjoy it, but it's definitely not part of Christmas cookie day. The hot chocolate makes sense. We don't always do that, but we've occasionally done hot chocolate with cookies, but not really tea. Tea's something I kind of drink at other times. And the candle, it's just whatever, it just makes sense to kind of crop it out because of where it is. So I decided, let me take a look at that. So I did 2 versions of the crop, so I'm going to put them up on the screen. It might be covering my face right now, but you can see, I think I'll do the one here is the smaller one, and the one over here is the larger one. And I'm kind of leaning towards the larger one just because I like that, like, I guess if you're looking at right middle plate of cookies that has like the mittens on it and the snowflake cookie. And if I crop the entire candle out, a lot of that plate gets lost. So I think I'm going to go, or I guess you can see that you saw that in the picture here, but I think I'm going to go with the larger version, which I might put back up again here if it's already disappeared, which I'm sure it has. It's only a few seconds. But I'm not 100% sure. Obviously my fabric is measured out to fit the full mini. I didn't even need to cut this. I had this left over from my mini Unleash the Butterflies, and it was like the bottom of the cut of fabric. So actually on the sides they've got plenty of border. On the top and bottom I've only got enough for about 1.5 inches on top and bottom, so that's why I decided to do the center start. It just happy little accident that it got to like my favorite color probably in the whole piece. But that means if I do the crop, I'm sacrificing some fabric, because obviously this is not something I would want to frog, but it's also not really very froggable. 25 count is a little bit tough. I've done it, but only for like 10 stitches or so, not like 300 something, because I'm not doing that. It's just not going to happen. So if I decide to go cropped, I'm just going to sacrifice that bit of fabric, and maybe I can do something with that little scrap, maybe not. But this was technically a scrap, albeit a larger scrap, but a scrap already, so not a super huge big deal if I lose a little bit of fabric there. So what I might do, sorry, let me see if I can silence my phone. What I might do is I'm thinking of finishing this plate and then working my way up to the hot cocoa, which is right here. And it's very easy, even though this is a full coverage, to kind of do it by item. And then probably work my way this way. And then start working my way this way so that I can stop if I decide I want to do the crop section. So we'll have to work that into my plans for next year because, again, I don't like a ton of really large full coverages because I just can't commit to stuff that I know is going to take me like 15 plus years to do. But smaller full coverages, I'm fine because that's 10 years or less depending on how much I stitch on them. And I feel like that's much more manageable. I'm kind of like starting to dig myself into a hole because I've started a lot of smaller full coverages, so that's still a lot of stitching, but it just feels more manageable, if you know what I mean. But yeah, so that was my impromptu start. Started on December 13th, 2025, and now I'm going to go ahead and move on to progress. All right, moving on to progress or standalone progress. The first piece I have to show you is Cross Stitch Nation, and I do have the cover art, but I seem to have misplaced it. So picture here of what that looks like. Though I have recharted quite a bit of it. I am, of course, changing up the skin tones and the colors of the outfits, but I'm also changed up what the characters are holding or the stitchers are holding, because it was a combination. One stitcher was holding a hoop, two were holding scissors, and the rest were holding a needle and thread. And I wanted a little more going on, so I have a stitcher holding a Q-snap, two stitchers holding... No, three stitchers will be holding the needle and thread. One is holding scissors, one will be holding the regular hoop, and one will be holding a nurse hoop. So last I saw it, you saw my purple girl in the middle, which is supposed to be me, green girl, my gentleman over here with his beret. That was recharted. This was originally also a female stitcher, but and this was the only male stitcher here, but I wanted to have two, so I recharted one, and he was originally holding, I think, scissors, so I swapped the scissors to her, and he's holding needle and thread, and that's because I wanted there to be like, because there's three stitchers holding thread, I wanted to be like a pattern, so like Q-snap, thread, scissors, thread, hoop, thread, nurse hoop. I didn't want two side by side holding thread because I thought it would look odd, so yep, so I finished, and my last girl is holding Q-snap, and I charted / used inspiration from just looking at different pictures, but semi-charted. Semi looked at pictures for inspiration, this little flower here, and I stitched it over one, just so that it would look like her stitching, I guess, if that makes sense. And I'm super pleased. So next piece I have to show you is Mother and Child. This is the last piece I needed for my whip go. I decided I was not going to go for a blackout because I just wouldn't be able to meet that, so I decided to go for one horizontal bingo and one diagonal bingo, and this was the last piece I needed for that. This is my heirloom collection, Busela heirloom collection, and gosh, I of course could have looked, but I don't have it in front of me, but I believe I started this in 2017 or 2018, and I literally hadn't picked it up since. I think I took a picture, which I might pop on the screen if I did take a picture. I did take a picture, but instead of showing you on my phone, I'll go ahead and put it up here so it can look a little better. So pretty set start for such a large piece, and that's like right around her hair here where her dress and hair connect. And I think that was literally the one time I stitched on it back when I started it. I hadn't picked it up since, and that's like 8 years of not stitching on it. So definitely needed some love. I didn't get quite as much as done as I would like, but enough that I felt happy with progress I made. So here's where she is at now. So I started going into more of the hair here, and I filled in some stitches that were missing in that section here. So definitely we'll be working on her hopefully a lot next year, just because I really want to get, probably not done, but a lot more progress than what I had. So I'm glad I pulled her out, glad I got enough stitching in there to meet at least an hour of work. But really looking forward to working on her some more, and getting just a good bit of progress on her in 2026. Maybe I can shoot for a 2027 finish because I'm fairly certain it was a 2017 start. Because I feel like I finished all my 2018 starts because I didn't start a lot of stuff in 2018. So like a couple years ago, I focused on finish all my 2018 projects that were started in 2018. and it definitely wasn't after. So I'm pretty certain this was a 2017 start. So before it's older than 10 years, it would be nice to have it done. We'll see if that happens. But yeah, last project to show you as far as standalone start alone progress is my Lanart owl. Very happy to have gotten this kit on super clearance. And it's just so gorgeous. And again, I had started it, I think this might have been a 2019 start. And I just had a tiny bit of brown, like this brown stitching here at the bottom. And I got to my goal, which I mentioned last time, which was the eye. I love it. And it's actually picking up, that black is picking up really nice on camera, because when I look at it in person, even from a distance, I feel like the black looks a little sparse. I almost wish I'd done this on 32 count instead of 28 count. 28 count is what was provided, which I swapped out anyway because there was a stain on it. And at first I thought maybe that's why it was on clearance, but like, I don't think you could see that in the kit anyway. So I think it was just on clearance as they were getting rid of it and reducing the cross stitch section. But there was a stain on it, and it was in a spot where I could use the fabric, but not for him. So I just swapped it for a different 28 count piece. And I'm like, I almost wish I'd done 32 count, but obviously by the time I thought of that, I had stitched a lot of the eye and I'm already committed. So what I've been doing is every once in a while I'll take a thread of black and just add an extra layer to the top thread, and I think that'll fix it. Again, on a camera it looks fantastic. And all the other colors look great, but like it definitely is looking a little bit sparse. So we'll see. We'll see. It might be something that as I work on it, I might see if it kind of, I don't know. But like I said, worst case, I can add a little extra layer of block to kind of thicken up that area, not have that white show through. But I believe, I'm 100% certain actually, because this will be going in my bag. I will be taking this on my trip. It's relatively easy stitching. Like, most of the colors are, you know, like you can finish out, the threads aren't very long, the lengths aren't very long, so I can mostly finish a length when I pick a color out and just stitch it through because it's not super confetti heavy. So I am gonna take this and hopefully get quite a bit of progress. I have at least one more other stitching project I'm gonna take. I might consider taking a third one just in case I'm not feeling one of the projects, but a third one is probably overkill. I'm going to be gone. The first trip is going to be 12 days. But, you know, traveling and like actual travel days and everything. So it'd be about 10 days where I could potentially stitch, I suppose. So 2 is probably fine. But I might take a third just to overplan like we do. But this is definitely going to be one of them. It's going to be an easy thing to stitch on. It's nice and a good size. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. So he's coming with me, so I'm hoping to get quite a bit more progress on him done. We'll see where he ends up. But yeah, as far as standalone progress, that is it. So the next section is going to be like the progress and starts that kind of go together. Then we'll talk about plans. I'll show you the knitting finish and we'll wrap things up. All right, so this final progress starts section is going to be where I'm going to show like the 5 projects that kind of go together. So I have progress and then start and then progress and then 2 starts to show you. So 2 different groupings, 2 projects and then 3 projects. First up is progress on Fall Fairy. This is artwork by Ruth Sanderson. And of course, as you can see here, charted by Dimensions Gold Collection. I started this in 2023 for my birthday. And my goal is to work on her during the autumn season for the most part. So I thought it would be fun because I did do that this year to show a picture here of where she was at the beginning of the autumn season. And here is where I got to after 11 weeks of stitching. I am so excited. That's so much progress. If you're interested, here's where it was last time I showed you. So even then it's a good bit of progress, but just to seeing the difference from the beginning of the season to now is awesome. So I got the entire part of the fairy that is in the top half of the pattern. So it's divided into 4 pages. This is what was on the first 2 pages for her. And a little bit into the bottom here just so that I didn't have a harsh line. But, oop, I just changed my light. I'm so sorry. It should be okay. Let me dim it slowly so it's not so harsh. But yeah, so I got all of her done. I did some background, some of that half-stitched background. I added a little bit of the leaves and worked my way all the way up to the tree. And this is the top of the pattern here. It does go quite a bit more. But yeah, so very happy with where she is at. I will definitely be pulling her out for the 2026 fall, probably through 2027. I'm obviously seeing as to where I got. That's not even like a quarter of the pattern necessarily. Granted, I was stitching on a lot of other stuff. I was very excited about a lot of other stuff. So maybe I wouldn't have put as much time as I maybe potentially will next autumn. But if I solely pull her out for seasonal stitching, it's gonna take me quite a few years. So I think, yes, I will do seasonal stitching at least through summer of 27, because that'll be 2 seasons per fairy. So because I started in 2025 fall, I need to go through 2027 to have 2 full years of seasons and kind of see where they're at, and then maybe at that point decide if I want to keep them as seasonal pieces or just start trying to finish them. I do think I'm going to incorporate all of my fairies into at least one other stitchy game. I have a handful of stitchy games I want to participate in 2026 to help them get a little bit more progress. So between that and seasonal stitching, I'm hoping I'll see maybe not quite half of the pattern done, because that's a lot. Granted, the background will help go a little faster because there's a lot of half stitches in the background, but kind of see where they stand at the end of, again, summer 2027, where they've had 2 seasons devoted to them, plus participation in some stitchy games or other times that I pull them out, and kind of reassess there. So yeah, I'm very happy with where she is at. I did stop a little bit early, so if you heard that 11-week number and you're like, wait a minute, seasons are 13 weeks long, you would be correct. I did stop her a little bit early, and again, because like I said at the top of the video, I'm going to be traveling pretty much through the beginning of January. I'm going to miss the end of autumn and the beginning of winter, and I will not be taking these projects with me. It's just a little too much. I will be taking 2 or 3 stitchy projects with me on my trips. I don't know if I'm gonna do the same 2 to 3 or different 2 to 3, but either way, the fall fairy and my winter piece that I'm about to show you are not coming with me. There's just too much going on. While I do like that they're kits and they're easy to take with me, it's just gonna be a little bit too much, I think, if I try to stitch on them while I'm traveling. It's gonna be, it requires a little bit more quiet and dedication than I can give when I'm traveling and doing other things. I want some smaller projects that I can do kind of in the down times, but I probably won't be stitching a whole ton anyway, so these wouldn't just be conductive to that. But yeah, so that was Fall Fairy, which is the progress piece. The start is Woodland Enchantress, artwork by Ruth Sanderson, again charted by Dimensions Gold Collection, and I started this December 1st. So that I could get a little bit of stitching done on her, again, before I travel and a little bit ahead of the winter season. I will kind of make up the time in the tail end there. Even though, like Fall Fairy, for example, only had the 11 weeks, and this one is also going to have about 11 weeks because of that 2 week, well, I guess in total I'm going to be gone, goodness, like 3 weeks or so, like if I put all the traveling together. So anyway, because of that time being gone, I wanted to make up the time. With Fall Fairy, I wasn't too put out about putting her away a little bit early, because I did put a lot of time into stitching her the first couple to 2 to 4 weeks of the autumn season. I was very excited to have pulled her out. I hadn't been stitching for almost 2 years because, again, pregnancy, baby, newborn, all of that stuff. So I was like just stoked to be working on her, and I did a lot of work on her on the beginning of the season. So totally cool with putting her away early, because overall I feel like she got the amount of time I expected her to get her in the 13 weeks anyway. So that's kind of what my goal is with Woodland Enchantress, is to start working on her now, get a little bit more work in, and then when I return, kind of make up the time by adding in an extra 30 minutes to an hour, at least the first 2 weeks that I'm back from my travels, to kind of make up for the missing time. So I'm sure you actually want to see the start, and here it is. And I am so excited. So again, this is just with all the provided kit materials, floss, and fabric. I tend to usually use what comes in the kits. The only time I hesitate is when it's 14 count Aida. I just like a tighter stitch, so I will swap out for 16 if I can. This comes with, I'm pretty sure this is 16. Yeah, that looks like 16. And most of the time Dimensions kits do come with 14 or 16 count, just because once you get hit to 18 count, it's harder to do those multiple strands they love to do. I do have, I believe, one kit by Dimensions that came with 18 count Aida, and I did notice that they don't use, as far as I could tell, I could have missed it because it's a bigger pattern, but from what I could see, they only did up to 4 strands instead of the 6 strands that they do when there's 14 or 16 count Aida. But I did do a center start on her, just because with kits that's the easiest way to ensure you're not going to run out of fabric, because they give you just enough of the fabric, which I know is one reason many people will swap out the fabric. Also, if you're just not an Aida stitcher, I know people will switch it out for linen or even weave. I have no problem with the Aida. So I just kind of leave it. Of course, you could find the center and then measure your, or count your way up and start like middle top, or up and over and start in the corner. I think I've done that one time with a kit, but for the most part, I just kind of leave it at the center. And in this case, the center ends up being, you know, as you can see, like right about here, which is obviously she's the most exciting part of the piece. So I had no problem starting in the center because I got to the fun stuff right away. I did notice that she is much further in the foreground than the other fairies. Like if I compare Fall Fairy and Woodland Enchantress, it looks like she's a little bit more in the forefront than Fall Fairy is with her background. And I think the same goes for Spring and Summer Fairy. They're just a little bit further in the picture than she is. So I feel like she's gonna go a lot faster because there's not as many colors going on. And just looking at this, I can't tell if everything is half stitched in the background, but it does look like a lot of it is. So it's gonna go quick. It's gonna go quick. My phone and notifications are going off like crazy. So sorry. See if I can maybe quiet that up. But yeah, I think she's gonna go really fast. So we'll see if maybe I can get more done on her than I did on Fall Fairy within the 11 or so weeks, but 13 to 26 hours or so of progress either way. We'll see how far I get, but I am super loving her. Listen, I love all color palettes in their own right. Fall Fairy and her autumnal colors are really gorgeous and beautiful, but the winter colors kind of have my heart. I do like the summer because there's a lot of purple in that one. Purple's my favorite, but in general, purple, blues, and greens, but the dark, cool tones, the jewel tones are where it is at. Like this dark green, and I know the light might not pick it up great, but the dark green that is here and like here, that is where my heart lies when it comes to color. So I am loving, it was so exciting to start the piece and immediately get into the colors that I love. So I'm really, really enjoying her a ton. Again, we'll see if, we'll see how much I get of her done in this season. I am fairly certain I'm pretty much done before I leave for my travels. I might pick her up maybe one more time so that I get a little bit more done, but we'll see if I have time for that. If I don't, not a big deal. I'm totally okay with that. I'm just happy I got her started and got her going. It's got, you know, a couple hours into work into her. So when I come back, I'll feel better that I'm not just starting her completely from scratch. She's actually got a bit done. So very much looking forward to working on her this winter season, seeing how far she gets. Again, probably will be incorporating her into some other Stitchy games, just to get a bit more progress on her this year. And then reassess at the end of 2 seasons and kind of see where all these seasonal fairies lie, and we'll kind of go from there. All right, guys, for my last section of progress slash starts, I have a group of 3 projects, and the first one I have to share with you is 1 Dozen Quakers by Rosewood Manor, and this was the 2024 SAL hosted by EJ of the Sunshine Stitchers. I guess both EJ and Sheila of the Sunshine Stitchers, but EJ's the one who, I guess, set up the SAL initially and divided the piece into 12. So the idea behind the Sunshine Stitcher SAL is you get a piece and you split it up into 12, but you get 13 months to finish it. So this was actually started in December of 2023 and it went through December of 2024. And the whole idea is because this first pattern for their first SAL was 1 Dozen Quakers, so we did a baker's dozen and had 13 months to finish the 12 sections. I started this in December 2023 and actually did very well. But of course, at the end of January, beginning of February, found out I was pregnant, had the rough pregnancy, newborn, baby life, till he was about 9 months old. So I wasn't really stitching, totally did not keep up with it at all. But picked it up again just a few weeks ago here. And I know I've mentioned that a few times, but it affects like a lot of the stitching in projects. I'm sure as I go into next year that won't be a topic anymore. But I decided to pick it back up and get it going because I'd really like to finish it at the end of 2026. Now couple things I want to mention. I decided not to follow the sections mainly because of the way my colors work, and I'll show you momentarily. It made more sense to work on the 5 big motifs and then work in the rest around it. So I decided to do it that way. I'm gonna finish the 5 big motifs and then go in and do the others. The other thing is I am not really a number or letter stitcher. I have, but I just alphabets and, you know, numbers is just kind of not my thing. So I'm omitting those and I'm going to shift some of the motifs a little bit to make that work. So for the most part, everything's the same place, just shifted over, except for, goodness, I believe it's this one of these motifs here. I'll show you momentarily, but this is a very busy section and this ends up being very open right over here when I removed the 6 and the 4. So I moved one of these 3 smaller motifs down here, and I'm going to actually insert a picture here of what that looks like, and that's just a picture that I used in Paint to kind of visually place everything. I will go through the chart and kind of decide how many stitches over I want that to be. But I just wanted to kind of visually see how it was going to look. So yeah, so let's go ahead and show you where I'm at. This is my progress. This is still in the Nurge hoop. So I used DMC Colores Bougainvillea for the border, and I pulled 5 colors that kind of went along with it. So DMC Colores actually has 4 colors in their variegation, but in this particular one, there's a few like millimeters of purple between the blue and the pink stitches. I doubt it'll pick up in the camera. Let me see if I can get a non-Nurge hoopy section there. I doubt you're going to be able to see it, but it's just enough where it actually is visible. And it kind of worked out better in that case anyway, because there are 5 big motifs. Because my other option was, I guess, to do the 4 main colors, or like the 4 actual colors of the Colores, and then in the middle one use the Colores itself. But I decided to just add in the extra purple, and I love purple, so throwing in purple was like kind of a no-brainer for me anyway. So I'm going to be working in this on 2026 and deciding what to finish, and deciding as I go what colors I'm going to finish everything. So I do know, so as you saw, this one was that dark teal. This is going to be purple. This one up here is going to be pink. This one's going to be blue, and this light but big one's smaller, but still one of the bigger motifs is going to be aqua. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and pick like opposite motifs and use the same exact colors, because that was the other thing I was kind of indecisive about, is like, for these other motifs, am I going to still use the same shades that I picked out that go with the DMC variegated, or am I going to do like a darker and a lighter purple, a darker and a lighter teal, a darker and a lighter pink, a darker and a lighter blue? But I thought, one, that would take a lot more planning that I really want to give, because I have so many things I want to do this year. And two, or this coming year rather, and two, I think it might look a little bit too hectic. So I think what I'm going to do is, for a lot of the over one motifs, I think I might use some of the Coloris. I'm a little bit undecided on that. I'm not sure if I want to use the Coloris for the smaller over two motifs, and then the colors themselves for the over one motifs, or if I want to use the Coloris for the over one motifs and use the solid color for the smaller over two motifs. Maybe it'll be a mix of both. But for example, so like this is the dark teal, so if I do use the dark teal, I'm probably looking at making this one dark teal. So I want them to be some space. Since this middle one is purple, that might be the hardest one to pick out. I probably, because there's so many motifs that are so close to it, I probably am going to maybe do a couple of the over one motifs, because they're the farthest away from that larger middle and the purple. So I probably end up doing a mix of Coloris and solid in both the over one and over two, just depending like where the colors look best. So yeah, so there is my 1 dozen Quakers, and that is my progress piece. Now I have a couple starts to show you. So the start that I have for you next is going to be put a bird on it. Picture here of what that looks like. And also picture here of my paint version, because again, I don't want to stitch the letters. I don't think I'm going to shift. In this particular picture that I showed, I did shift the motifs a little bit that I did leave, but looking back on it, I might just leave them exactly where they are, and I think it'll look fine. I also removed 2 of the smaller motifs that weren't alphabets, just because I thought it made one side look more dense in stitching and the other side more open, because one side had more letters and one side had the 2 smaller motifs. And I can always go back in and stitch something in if I decide I want to do that. So, little bit of chit chat with this piece. I really thought I wasn't going to do it. Again, I picked up stitching again in August, when baby boy was 9-10 months old. And I was like thinking about it, and I'm like, I'm kind of late in the game. Why don't I just finish 1 dozen Quakers and jump in with the 2026 sell? But of course, as soon as I started stitching, I started watching Flosstube again, and one of my go-tos is my sweet friends EJ and Sheila. I love visiting with them, of course, just because they're so special to me, because I stitch with them often in the cross stitch cupboard, which is why anytime I come back to stitching, 2 of the ones I definitely start watching again are Vicky's Stitching Button and EJ and Sheila of the Sunshine Stitchers, and Deb when she comes visit. And they were, of course, talking about it and starting to share some finishes that people mentioned. And of course, I went back into the Facebook groups for stitching, and people were sharing their finishes or close to finishes. And maybe I was getting a little bit more FOMO there. But I was kind of like, yeah, maybe I should start it. What should I do? Should I go like in a variegated route, which is what I tend to do, pick a variegated and then work with the colors of that variegation? Do I just want to pick different variegateds for each motif? What do I want to do? And I was kind of going back and forth and still kind of not sure what I wanted to do. But then I realized, or not, I didn't realize, I had this thought, and I can't quite pinpoint when I had it. I think it's because as I mentioned in my last video, I'm really enjoying stitching birds as a whole. And I think sometime between that kind of thought sort of percolating and looking at all these different bird patterns that I think I now want to stitch and start. And one of the many late night wakes ups I had with my baby, I think at some like 2 o'clock in the morning wake up, I just had this thought, and once I really like let it percolate in my brain a little bit, I was like, yep, got to do this. This is it. This is what I'm going to do. So to say I am excited is an understatement. I am totally geeked out over my idea. My idea is, because this has put a bird on it, why don't I theme each motif after a different colorful bird in the bird world? And of course there's so many choices for that, and yep, that's what I decided to do. So I knew there are a few birds that I thought I'm pretty sure I want to incorporate, but I've also been doing some research and there's so many to pick from. But I did manage to get the first two on here. So here is, as it stands now, my put a bird on it. Oh, that's not because of the Q snap. There we go. If I angle it that way, I think you'll see it best. So my first motif here, and I'll include a picture of the collage I put up on Facebook because I was super geeked and had to share, so you can see it there, is going to be up here, and it is inspired by the keel-billed toucan. And of course, I think you can see how the colors, or I'm going to have to take this out of the Q-snap for future videos, but there we are. So that's motif number one. And motif number two is there. And just for the sake of lighting and, oh goodness, and showing you better, here's the collage for that. And that is inspired by the hyacinth macaw. Obviously more commonly known as the blue macaw, but when I was researching, I found out there's actually 3 types of blue macaws, so that's why hyacinth macaws, to kind of differentiate. I'm geeked. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. I'm having so much fun researching and looking and figuring out what colors I'm gonna do, and also like deciding what colors where I'm gonna put, like, I'm trying to encompass the like percentage of colors for the bird within the motif. So, you know, like with the toucan, I try to put a little bit more black around the corner or around the edges here, because the body of the toucan is black and the beak is up here with the pink going to the yellow and green, and the blue in his feet and a little bit in the beak and the line in the beak. So like that was fun, figuring out what to cut, like where to put the blues and the gold. And there is actually, and I know you can't really tell here, maybe in the picture you can tell a little bit, it's very subtle and I can see it in person, like just enough that there's a difference, but I did use black and dark gray up here. But yeah, I'm super happy and so excited about this. And I'm also enjoying stitching over one a lot, and I think part of that is because I'm trying to be resourceful and use what I've got, and I've got tons of scraps of even weave, 28 count even weave, that are way too small for anything if I'm stitching over 2. But if I'm stitching over 1, I've got quite a lot at my disposal. So and it really hasn't been that bad, and I'm sure it depends on the fabric, because certain fabrics are woven tighter or looser, even if they are 28 count, or dyes, if it is a dyed piece, will affect the size of the fabric in the holes. But this has not been hard to see at all, especially stretched out on the Q-snap. So this is 1/1 on 28 count even weave. I think it's mushroom even weave. This is one of the ones that you got in this like little plastic bag at Joann's, that I miss Joann's so much, but I got it at Joann's, and it was one of those where like it was kind of hit or miss. Sometimes you would pick up and like it would be horrible, and sometimes you pick up and it'd be great. And they had the mushroom, a natural color, and a white, and I feel like the natural one was the most hit or miss. It was sometimes just like funky feeling and flimsy. The white and the mushroom, I feel like have, for the most part, I always experience them being very good. So yeah, so I'm happy that I found this piece. It's just enough. It's got a decent edging to it. I've got maybe 1.5 inches in the top, and on the sides I've got like 2.5 to 3, so no problem there. But I am so stoked about this. I cannot wait to keep going. I think I know what I'm going to pick for the next 2 motifs. Definitely Big Blue is going to be peacock themed. I know that for a fact. But yeah, the other thing I want to make sure I do is I kind of alternate birds that have like 7, 8, 9 colors with birds that maybe have 3, 4, maybe 5 tops, so that it's not too crazy, and also so that you can like really encompass each bird differently, because once you start getting into like the 8 to 10 color range, you're going to be using a lot of the same colors. So like one of the birds I'm considering is a painted bunting, and it's got blues and reds and greens. And there's going to be different shades than this, of course, but like other birds, so like I thought about a cassowary, which also has blue, red, green, yellow. So if I start doing the same colors over and over, it's going to be hard to make them stand out. So I'm trying to mix, for example, like a cardinal is going to have the red, the black, the gray, maybe 2 shades of red and a little bit of orange, and mix that next to maybe the painted bunting that has like a rainbow of colors. So I think I'm going to try to do that to kind of tone it down a little bit, but also ensure that you can really see the different birds encompassed. And I can't wait. I'm super excited. So yeah, so stoked. Again, planning on finishing that at the end of 2026 because I want to be completely caught up with the sows. And I can't wait to show you what birds I decide to incorporate next. Alright, so for my last start and last project I will be sharing with you today, I have, if you haven't already guessed it by the vein of this grouping of projects, the 2026 SAL hosted by EJ and the Sunshine Stitchers, and that is Elegant Lace. This is by Arlene Cohen, who designs her new name, Works by ABC, and I have to be honest, when I first saw it, I was kind of like, I don't know, that doesn't really speak to me. It's not something I would stitch, but I was really looking forward to participating in the SAL as it was happening because, as I mentioned before, pregnancy, baby, I didn't really get to participate in the SALs as they were going on. Obviously, I can still share in the Facebook group and everybody's super sweet and awesome and comments and shares and still interacts, but it's nice to participate in the SAL as it's happening. So I was really looking forward to it. And I think I wasn't initially drawn to it because it's monochromatic, and although I have some monochromatic pieces, I have some monochromatic things planned to start. It's not the main thing I gravitate towards too. There's very specific pieces I do it for, and in general, it's not something I go for because I find I get bored. The ones that I have planned to be that way kind of work that way in my mind, so I'm gonna commit to them. But if I can avoid monochromatic stitching, I will. I think the other one was that it was, with white thread, and white thread can be really finicky. Apologies. And that's just a lot of white stitching. But I was like, well, the point of these sales is to have fun with it, right? Make it your own, use your own fabric, use your own colors. And so I'm like, what can I do here? I know I don't want to just use one color. Should I use 2 colors? Do I do like a variegated? Do I go the variegated and then pull the solid colors and do a combination of both? And none of that really worked in my head for what Elegant Lace is. I thought it would make it look different, I suppose. Different than the effect that it was meant to portray. So then the other thought that I had is like, well, what if I do like, I guess, a combination of white and solid colors, and kind of get this sort of embroidered lace look. So I don't know if you've seen those like tulle lace fabrics where it's white and then it has embroidered flowers on it, that idea. But I'm like, that's a lot of white stitching and I don't want to do the white stitching. So I'm like, well, what if I do it in black and also do the embroidered look? And that's kind of where I was kind of gravitating towards too, until I was scrolling on Instagram and I came across this post here. So I did leave the creator's name on it. This is a crocheted shawl, and 2 things drew me through it. One, of course, the colors are all my favorite colors. Blues, purples, and teals, aquas. But the other thing was like the shape of the shawl really reminded me of Elegant Lace, and I was like, this is it. I'm somehow going to incorporate these colors into my Elegant Lace. So what I did is, when I was getting some floss for some other projects and I was in front of the floss wall at Michael's anyway, I kind of picked out colors that went along with that yarn, and then I didn't purchase them because I knew I had most of these colors, if not all of them, at home, and I could always go back and get it if I needed it. So I came home and I pulled them again, varied a little, and ended up with this color palette here. So apologies, it looks kind of weird, but I had some of them in skeins and some of them bobbinated, so it looks a little odd. But I'm mostly certain about most of the colors. I'm just not sure about the blue over here, this light blue. That was kind of an extra one I threw in there. I might use it maybe for the half stitches, I'm not sure. But I'm pretty certain about all the other colors. I'm just kind of deciding how I'm going to work it into the piece. I know the outside is going to be the blue, the 798, 794. And I have that to show you here. So I was able to start this yesterday, and I actually got to participate in the supper edition of the Zoom, which I didn't think I was going to get to do, because when I saw EJ post about it, I saw that it was a brunch edition, and I thought that was the only one they were going to have, and I'm like, oh, like, we were still doing stuff. My daughter had a birthday party to attend. It just wasn't going to happen. Then, as I was winding down for the day, I saw that she posted the supper edition was starting, and I'm like, oh, well, I can join in that. So that was a lot of fun. I got to start it with everybody else. I'm very certain about the placement of the blue, and I did go all the way down to the section for the, January, the first section of like her gridded layout, because she does divide the piece into 12 sections. You don't necessarily need to follow it, but I think in this case I might. At least, like I went a little bit over here and kind of finished out this scallop instead of cutting it off right in the middle. But I think I'm mostly going to stick to the sections. I don't know if I'm going to go like straight across and then middle and then down. I might skip, either go this way or maybe go diagonal just so I can plan out the colors. And do like this section and at least the middle section, and then maybe jump back up. So that I can do, I guess, create the variegation. I'm a little unsure if I want to leave the purple here or if I want to do a little more blue. I'm still not 100% certain how I'm going to make that variation flow. I want to go through the colors two times to show that it's like a variegated instead of just a fade from one color to the other. And I just haven't quite figured out the placement, but I'm super excited about it. I'm also really excited about my fabric because I was debating whether I do like a light or a dark. And I also wanted to incorporate the metallic that is woven throughout the yarn. And this was perfect because it's an opalescent fabric. So the fabric kind of embodies that metallic ness of the yarn without having to use a metallic thread, which I wasn't sure how it was going to work in, but I did want to work it in somehow. So super excited about that. Also excited that, like, even though I guess this is originally white Aida, maybe more of a natural color, but because there's the silver opalescent woven throughout, it almost gives it a gray appearance. So it kind of makes the colors pop really nicely. And I think it'll be really useful for the half stitches because that's what I was worried about. Because without the dark fabric, the half stitches might not stand out if it's not a dark enough color. But if it's too dark of a color, I think it would kind of overtake the piece a little bit and kind of take away from that lace effect. So I think this is just dark and like gray enough that a lighter color will pop enough off of it for those half stitches to give kind of that lace effect. So I'm really excited. Again, I'm not 100% sure on the placement of the purple. I might end up frogging that out and moving it a little down into the piece. We'll see. But I'm glad I got it started, and I will be picking that back up in January when I return and really planning it with a little bit more detail. All right, guys. So thinking of plans for 2026. I don't have everything concretely done because, again, with the traveling and everything I have to do for that, I haven't been able to like sit down and plan the specific projects, but I do know how I'm going to go about things. I'm going to participate in a few stitching games to kind of help this along, and I'm going to focus on finishing as many whips as possible, which I think tons of people say that. But I think in the past I used to say I want to whip down, I want to whip down. But no matter what, I think I'm always going to hover somewhere between the mid 40 to low 50 range of stuff that I've started. I've slowly worked my way into, I guess, having less active whips out of that number, because I think my ideal number would be 30 to 35. And I say that because I have some long-term projects, maybe around 10 tops of like larger projects. So anywhere between 20, 25, maybe 30 regular whips and 5 to 10 larger whips that are going to be like more long-term. But it's just so hard to not start stuff. And I think I'm pretty conservative with my starts. I try to, I'm definitely very careful when I buy things. I really think it over. Again, gonna be on a tight budget until kiddo's out of daycare. So really have to be thoughtful about purchases anyway. And I'm trying to do that as far as starts, because I do have plenty of stuff already that I could start, plus new things that I'm interested in, you know? So it's always difficult to stay below a certain number, because no matter what, I'm going to be starting stuff. So I think, like I said, my goal is to finish as many things as possible. So if the number is going to say be around 48 projects, make sure that that 48 number is made up of different projects. So I am working on that goal, but I think one main thing that I really want to do is have 2 focus on a finishes at a time. And the reason I say 2 at a time is because I can see myself potentially getting burnt out. So having 2 that are out that I know I want to get finished, I think will help me get to that goal. So if I'm working on something, I'm getting close, but I'm like, I want to work on something else, I can work on my other focus for a finish. And of course, this will be mingled with regular whips that I'm working on for other things. I don't have it in front of me because I'm still kind of finalizing everything, but I think at the moment I have 48 or 49 things that are started. And around 7 or 8 things that I definitely think I can finish by the end of 2026. So definitely going to have those as focus for finishes. One of the things I will be participating is Year of Whips. So I definitely, and I need to get that uploaded soon to Facebook. So this is hosted by Melanie the Soulful Stitcher. She has a Facebook group called Soulful Stitching, and you can upload your album of your 6 projects. So you pick 6 projects. The goal is to finish at least 3 of them, and it goes from mid-December to mid-December because her birthday is, I believe, December 18th. So she does it for her birthday. So I got to get that uploaded soon. And I think I know most of the projects I'm going to pick. I'll probably share all of this after I come back because, again, I'm still finalizing everything, and this is going to be my last video. But yeah, so some of those focus on finishes are definitely going to be those 6 projects. Obviously, I think I have more than 6 things I want to finish, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, so I want to do that just to get as many finishes as I can and get some of these projects, you know, out of the rotation and done, and enjoy some new things. And I guess if I just recorded the Sunshine Stitcher Sal section, I guess you can call it. And I want all those 3 of those done. So that's an additional 3 projects that I want outside of the 6, 7, 8 that I'm thinking of that are already in my whip. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm definitely going to be doing Whip Go. So that's 24 projects. And I do think I am going to list 24 projects. I'm going to take advantage of the free space. I put a project in there this year, but I'm just going to do the free space and 24 spaces, 24 projects. And I'm probably going to stick to the 6 hours or 6,000 stitches. So 6 hours if it's a non-pattern keeper project, 6,000 stitches if it is a pattern keeper project. I think that was very realistic. I just, you know, because I wasn't stitching, I didn't hit those goals. But I think had I been stitching, I would have done that. So I think I'm going to stick to that goal per project, and if I surpass it, great, but at least that minimum. I know the 6 hours for sure. The 6,000 stitches maybe is ambitious, I don't know, but I think it's doable as long as I'm not working on too many things in a month, I guess. So Whip Go is going to be one of them. I am also going to take up Whipagories, which is hosted, Whip Go, by the way, if you don't already know, Jessie Marie does stuff. I'll link her channel down below. She posts these on Instagram and in her Facebook group, which is just Whip Go in the years. So right now it's Whip Go 2025. Next year, you know, it'll be updated to Whip Go 2026. You get 2 projects a month, like 2 calls a month, and whatever goal you want to be, whether it's finish, page finish, 6 hours, 6,000 stitches, just as much progress as possible, 5 days of stitching, whatever your goal you want it to be. But I think I'm going to do 24 projects I want to touch, either 6 hours minimum or 6,000 stitches minimum. And then I guess I'll find out if 6,000 stitches was too ambitious, but I think it's doable. So there we go. So Whip Go. Whipagories is hosted by Sammy J. I don't remember if her channel is just Sammy J or Sammy J Stitching. I will also link her down below. But I guess she picks 5 to 6 categories, whip-categories, and then you pick projects and you kind of set up your own goals. It could be 100 stitches, it could be an hour. So I don't know what I'll do for that. I probably will go time, so 1 to 2 hours minimum. Obviously, if I surpass it, great. If I don't, no biggie. I don't know if I'm going to stitch count for that. I think I'll just go hour to 2 hour, even if it is a pattern keeper piece. And so she'll do things like a project that has a border, a project that has 10 colors or less, a project with an animal. So some sort of category you have to fulfill. And I believe it's 5 or 6 every month. So I want to do that as well. I want to participate in Milestone Manor, which Jessie is still kind of working. I did watch her initial video and kind of deciphered as much as possible and was kind of getting ready to figure out how I was going to play it. But since so many people showed interest, she is going to do a video explaining like the how-to for Milestone Manor, which again, I'm sure you can adapt if needed. But it is based off of a video game and the layout of your house, and you're entering rooms and defeating a monster, which is a whip, by hitting an X amount of stitches or time. And anyway, some sort of goal. And then it's a little bit more involved than that. You have to hit certain milestones, therefore the name Milestone Manor. That I might not start till like end of January, beginning of February, so I have time to figure it out. But at some point in 2026, I want to do that. That one is not a monthly thing like WhipGo and whip-categories are, so I'll just kind of pick it up whenever I'm ready and just keep it going. Her focus for that was for full coverage pieces. I think I'm going to try to do the same. If I counted the areas in my home that I want to include, I came up with 17 areas. 17? I believe 17. I could have made it to be up to 20 areas, but I just don't think I have enough projects. So maybe I'll do an expansion pack if I ever get to the point where I want to have 20 areas, but as of now I think 17 areas. I definitely don't have 17 full coverage whips that are Pattern Keeper compatible. So that's one of the ones where I'm thinking I might incorporate fall, fairy, woodland enchantress, which is my winter fairy, spring fairy, and summer fairy, because they are full coverage pieces. I would just have to figure out like if I'm just going to manually do the math or what I'm going to do with that. But I might incorporate those because they'll full coverage as well. And kind of go from there. I do know that in her how-to, she had, I believe it was Sammy J, kind of also playing along with her, and she's adapted it to having not full coverage patterns, so maybe she'll address how those are going to be tackled. If not, I can figure out some way to do it myself. But I want to do that. And the last stitchy game I think I want to do is Threadwalker Saga, which I saw Stitcher Moose post in Instagram about like doing that, where essentially you're picking a character and it's very kind of Dungeons and Dragons. No, I think World of Warcraft kind of following that kind of game, where you're leveling up a character by hitting certain number of stitches and also defeating monsters along the way. I think there's 100, you can level your character up to 100. And I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to tackle that one. Originally it's meant to be one project the whole time, but you can swap projects. So I gotta create my character, figure out what project I'm gonna do, and other than that, it's pretty straightforward. So I believe that is Wild Fox Stitcher. She's a new to me Flosstuber Stitcher, so I will insert the name on the screen and include her channel down below, because I have been watching slowly watching some of her videos. She's also doing Flossmas if you want to watch that. But I think I also want to do that game. So more concrete plans with like actual, maybe sharing like my list of Year of Whips, my WhipGo board, and of course my Threadwalker Saga character / the project I'm going to do, probably forthcoming in January 2026. But I am very excited to kind of tackle 2026 with my stitching in a year that I think I will be able to consistently stitch, assuming life does not get in the way again. So really looking forward to that. I think I might do a whip parade again at the end of January. I haven't done one in years, but because I have a couple things I might want to finish and I really want to get settled into stitching in the new year, I might do it like end of January, beginning of February. So I'm excited to do that. I do also think I want to touch on my whips at least once next year. So maybe things that don't make it into a stitchy game, I will pull out either on their birthday or at least their birth date. So like I have a lot of things started on the 1st and the 29th. The 1st because of January 1st and New Year, New Start, and the 29th because my birthday's on September 29th. So throughout the years, I've had a lot of birthday starts. But maybe do something where like, okay, the 29th of October, I pick up a whip, or the 29th of July, I pick up a whip, the 1st of March, or something like that. So I think as I go throughout the year, if I notice there's a project I haven't like touched at all, I might look at its birth date and just look at that day, and for the next month, pull it out and work on that. So at least touch everything once, but focus on things to try and get a few things done. So that is my plans as of now. Thank you so much for watching. I do have one knitting finish I'm going to share, so if you stick around for that, great. If you don't, not a big deal. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, a wonderful new year. I cannot wait to see you again in January and kind of get started with my stitching and get a little bit more organized, and share some of that organization with you, because I'm pretty excited about some of the work. I'm looking at all my stuff about all the organizing I want to do and sharing some more stitching. So yeah. Thank you so much for sticking around with me. I know I am a talker and a sharer, and I so appreciate you, those of you who take the time to watch and comment. So again, can't wait to see you. Hope your stitching is going great, or any of your other crafts or hobbies, and that you enjoy this holiday time. And I'll see you soon. Bye. Alright guys, for my one knitting finish I have to show you is my garment for my cousin's baby. It's a little dress. It is so cute. I will make sure, and oh gosh, I don't think I did this last time, but I will make sure I link the creator and her Etsy shop down below. She also has a YouTube video, which you can follow along for free, but if you want the written pattern, she does have it for sale on her Etsy. I decided, because I like the written pattern, but also to support her, to just go ahead and buy the pattern. And it's adorable. I can't believe it. My first garment ever. I mean, I guess technically a hat and a scarf are garments, but like complex garment is complete, and it's so cute. This is the True Boo yarn. I don't remember the colorway. I got it from my aunt, from her stash when she was destashing, and it is a size 3 yarn, and I believe I used 3mm needles just to make it a little bit smaller. So her pattern's really interesting because she really only uses one yarn weight and makes the sizing by changing your needle size. So I would guess you could, because most of the times when I see patterns where they have multiple sizes, they'll be like, okay, for the small, you're gonna start with 30 stitches and then you add on stitches and you're, you know, knitting 42 or knitting 53 or whatever to make the different sizes. But in this case, she just had you know, she just had going up a needle size. I guess because it's a baby garment and you don't really need to add a ton of stitches. Though I have seen patterns for baby garments where they do add stitches. So I guess you have both options. But I knitted this with 3mm needles to get the size. I believe this is the 6 to 9 month. It's either the 3 to 6 or the 6 to 9. It's big enough that I think she'll be able to wear it. At the very least as a shirt, if not a dress. But she's a small baby, and she is not that old yet. I believe she's just turning 3 months when we see her. So I thought the 3 to 6 month size would be fine. Made a small change. I added an extra button. So her pattern calls for the top and the middle button, or the bottom button here. But I thought the middle got a little droopy. So I decided to add the button myself. And it's a little loose. I used 6mm buttons, but I probably should have used like 8mm or 10, because they kind of pop out a little bit, but I think it's fine. It should, once it's like on her and stuff, it should be okay. But I'm super excited. It's done, and I am looking forward to just doing some patterns, some garments for myself next year, so maybe like a sweater. or cardigan, you know, an open cardigan, something, and socks. I really want to do socks, and I haven't tackled them yet, and I think I can do it, and I want to do it. I just haven't tackled them yet. But this is officially it. Thank you so much for watching my video and sticking around the whole way. If you did, if you didn't, no big. Obviously, if you're here, you watch the knitting. I hope you have a wonderful end to the year. I hope your holidays are great, your new year is great. All your planning is going well, all your final stitching is going well, or crafting, whether it's knitting or crochet or diamond painting or something else. And I will see you guys in 2026. Can't believe it already. Have a great one, guys. See you soon.